Great to have you here. Let's begin with the District Chief Executive for Seshwe Kumewu, Samuel Ejekum, who has blamed the poor quality of work and contractual challenges, among others, for the delay in completion of the Kumewu District Hospital. The hospital started in 2014 and was expected to be completed in 30 months, but 6 years on, the facility remains uncompleted. Residents have been enraged about the stalled project after President Akufo-Addo announced the construction of 88 new district hospitals nationwide. But speaking on News Desk, the DCE said government will have to spend more money to get the facility completed.
There was a forensic audit that was conducted, and it came out that out of the $138 million that was released by UKEF to the NMS, to government of Ghana, so that the NMS, as they execute the project, they measure and pay them, because the project is remeasurement. Clearly, as we speak, if you speak to NMS, they will tell you that the work that they've done, the Ghana government still owes them. Besides, contractual agreements such that when they import the prefab from outside, they were supposed to enjoy tax waivers. All of them, the government of Ghana did not adhere to or did not obey the contract or respect the contract. And that, for that matter, it has, they had to also look at it again. So, clearly, they raised issues, and then the contractors also, the consultant, that is the Ministry of Finance and the Ministry of Health Engineering team also raised issues of tough standards in terms of wiring, and then some of the quality of the prefab. And let me tell you, in principle, the NMS team who came from UK agreed on the ground, and then they decided to do something about it. And the Minister for Health said, look, or the Ministry of Health team who came said, look, we have to set up and make sure that we let the project continue. So just calculate whatever variation that arise out of the delay, because the project was halted. It was supposed to be completed in 16th October 2016. That the contract expired, and that we have to renew the contract and then renew the letter of that is the LC, and then also restore the tax waiver that the previous government did not respect.
So in essence, you're saying that it is going to cost us more to get back to the project and have it completed?
Yes, as I'm speaking, if I'm not, my memory serves me right, the $38.8 million as we speak, even if we get that money, it cannot complete the project, because look at
So how much do we need? How much do we need to fix this problem?
The two projects, as well as to also initiate or continue that of Abetifi, we might need $93 million.
Away from that part of the country, all over the world, coronavirus has been harsh to economies. Ghana is no exception, with border towns feeling the pinch the most. Volta region correspondent Fred Kwame Asare has been interacting with traders in Aflao and reports the closure of the border there in particular is threatening livelihoods. Economic activities there have almost come to a standstill, and residents anticipate an extension of government's food distribution there. There's more in this report.
Aflao is one of the busiest border communities in Ghana, with a vibrant local economy, which flows into the entire country's economy. For many years, this border post has been an entry and exit point for several thousands of people, along with which comes revenue generation for both the state and individuals who live close and far from here. It has been over a month since Ghana's borders were shut to contain the spread of the coronavirus, and the once busy Aflao border is now nothing short of a ghost town like several cities across the world. The local economy here is crippled.
If you go to the
45-year-old Yawa Demechi sells fresh fish at the Bit 9 pedestrian border post. She relies on the little income she makes from this business daily to feed, clothe, and educate her children.
We have here Garmo no Mava Majana Garmo Kungakoni Juna, Akoya Poma, no more one and nomade. And you yoga, Yaga country. Yambo, Tika me that I got two, Ashiadu. Tika me that I got two, Jiru and Akoya, winning Yawa.
The most common means of commercial transport here in Aflau is a motorbike. These had served as an avenue of employment for hundreds of young people in and around Aflau, but the youth fear they may be out of business in no time if the coronavirus pandemic persists. Traders at the Aflau market are not spared the economic effects of COVID-19. A few weeks back, this market center would be buzzing with activities. In fact, the traders fear the closure of the border might lead to food shortage. Awoku Energy trades in the Aflau market. The dwindling economic activities, which is threatening livelihoods of residents here, has moved traditional authorities to take some spiritual steps which they believe will wipe out coronavirus. They poured libation at the Bit 9, Bogli, and Aflau main border posts and offered what they called sacrifices at the feet of the Aflau community gods. For now, uncertainty is building up as state authorities warn people not to fear but stay vigilant. But until certainty that allows for the lifting of the restrictions on movement dawns, majority of residents here in Aflau would continue to struggle for survival. They are hoping the government will extend the food distribution to the poor and vulnerable to their communities also. Fred Kwame Asari, Joy News, Aflau.
Still live on Joy News today. Now, she traveled from Kumasi to Accra more than a decade ago in search of greener pastures. She settled in the suburb of New Fadama, where she moved from house to house doing laundry for people to earn some money to take care of her two daughters. But after the outbreak of COVID-19, Adre Jewa is now out of a job as none of her clients will allow her into their home. PSA Nanaya Safo has gone to meet Adre Jewa, and here's her story.
Adre Jewa was one of the citizens who believed a partial lockdown in parts of the country was bad for business, although it was a necessary measure to prevent spread of a virus. Like many Ghanaians, she waited eagerly for the president's address on Sunday, 19th April 2020. The ban was lifted, but Jewa would face a hurdle. No client will admit her into their home. Everyone is being careful.
The times are not good at all. I used to get paid for washing services just a few months ago. Even friends turn me away now. I can barely take care of my children. Customers say now they've resorted to using washing machines.
I
used to earn as much as 400 cedis or 600 cedis in a week. It was not always guaranteed, but it was relatively better. All those funds were used in purchasing more soap for washing, taking care of myself and my daughter's education, and the basic needs, including sanitary pads.
She walks with me over to her sleeping place in New Fadama, a wooden structure sitting among a cluster of kiosks. The setup looks like it may cave in any time. Most of the room is covered with old dusty clothes, car spare parts, and rusty metals. Ejewa shows me an old refrigerator in the corner on which her two daughters, Veronica, 18, and Juliana, 17, squeeze to sleep at night. When I asked about where she slept, she points at the ground.
I usually sleep on a piece of plywood. There it is now. We sometimes take turns between sleeping on the old refrigerator and here.
The structure has been home to Ejewa and her daughters for the past 12 years. It is originally a welder's shop, but serves as home when the workers leave each day at about 7 p.m. Despite living in what appears to be poverty and abandonment by husband, Ejewa says never cared much for her anyway. She has been determined to work hard to take care of herself and her daughters.
I want to be a banker.
Veronica Kunedu is the first of Adjo Ejewa's daughters. She is a senior high school graduate, brilliant from my engagement with her, but had no idea what her WASSCE results were. She had been blocked from accessing it due to her outstanding school fees.
This is Marjorie bringing you the news today. We have just received reports of major pandemics sweeping across the globe. It is quite scary.
Juliana, the last child, aspires to be a journalist someday.
I would like the elders of my daughters to continue her education, but I cannot help her. I'm out of job now, with no financial backing as it is. It will be almost impossible to send the younger one back to school, even when the ban on schools is lifted. I'm not worried as much about where we sleep. I think I'm getting used to it.
With mouths to feed, dreams to support, and barely nothing in her account, Adjo Ejewa sits with a neighbor and the girls discussing life and its meaning somewhere in New Fadama. For her, life is not easy. Life with COVID-19 has been worse. Tomorrow is just another day, but what it comes with is unknown. PC Nanaya Osafo, Joy News.
You're so live on Joy News today with me, Daniel Daze. Coming up, 5 shops in Kaneshie Market locked up by environmental health officers for non-compliance to COVID-19 preventive protocols. Details after the break. Thanks for staying with us. Now, shops in Kaneshie Markets have been locked up by environmental health officers for non-compliance to COVID-19 preventive protocols. My colleague Nancy Emefa Jodosi was part of the team, and she's joined us in studio to give us more details. So, Emefa, what happened to these shops?
Well, Daniel, these shops largely didn't have Veronica buckets. They didn't have sanitizers or tissue. They were not observing any form of social distancing. And so when we got there, they were asked why they didn't have, and most of them said, oh, my madam didn't buy it, we had it, but we had to leave it in the house and all of that. But the excuses were not taken. So first of all, they were given notices. That means that after 48 hours, the officials will go back to these shops and find out whether they've been able to provide all the necessary things that they were asked to provide.
What happens
other than that, they're going to court, because they're going to go by the bylaws that have been given out. I mean, for Madam Florence Kuchi tells me that they sent about over 5,000 letters to shops across the city in Accra, asking them to provide the necessary things like the buckets, the sanitizers, and nothing has been done, and so there was no excuse at all.
Right. So did we get any form of response from a shop owner?
Yes. First of all, let me talk about some of the shops that had complied. We found out of 7 shops that we visited, 2 shops observed every protocol that were outlined. So they had the Veronica bucket with liquid soap. They had sanitizers in front of their shops. In fact, one electrical shop that we found, there was a sign, something written on the board that social distancing observed. And so the customers cannot go as far as that line. You have to stand at a certain distance away from the shopkeeper, and then you would be served. But largely, all of them admitted that yes, they were at fault, and those who didn't comply, they were at fault, and that they were going to observe and buy the things. In fact, as we left, some of them had already gone out to buy their Veronica buckets.
That's encouraging to hear. Thank you very much, Emefa Jodosi, for those updates. Now, the Ghana Military Police has arrested a 41-year-old man for impersonating a Canadian Army officer. Speaking to the media, Director of Public Relations of the Ghana Armed Forces, Colonel Eric Agrekwashi, says the suspect, who had in possession weapons, was spotted around Pidiase, and upon interrogation, he admitted he was not a Canadian Army official. There's more in this report by Nicholas Ekoyamoa.
41-year-old Bernard Aye was spotted by the Ghana Military Police near Pidiase, posing as a Canadian Army officer. He was then followed upon suspicion and finally picked up near the Adenta barrier, wearing a camouflage uniform and driving a Mazda saloon car with registration number GR140620. At the time of his arrest, he had in his possession 2 different types of pistols, 2 pistol holsters, 2 handcuffs with keys, a jackknife, a baton, 2 fake Canadian Army identity cards with the name Lieutenant Colonel Bernard Aye, 3 mobile phones, and an amount of 13,470 cedis, 40 pesos. Speaking to journalists, the Director of Public Relations of the Ghana Armed Forces, Colonel Eric Agrekwashi, says the suspect was first sighted around Pidiase but sped off upon seeing the Ghana Army vehicle.
Interesting thing is that he was spotted around Pidiase, dressed the way he is dressed. And when he saw the military vehicle, he quickly sped off. That is what made our people suspicious. So the senior officer asked his driver to chase him. Well, the way they saw him, he was dressed. And then immediately he saw that they have seen him, he just moved ahead. So they followed up and then tracked him down. Locked at Adenta area there, and they narrowed him down, and so he was questioned. They found him suspicious, and so he was handed over by the senior officer to the military police.
Colonel Eric Agrekwashi also advised Ghanaians who may have been victims to the imposter to help the police with investigations.
To curb this incident, when you come across somebody dressed like that and you are suspicious, notify the nearest security post. Or if you could do a citizen arrest, yes, but you are not supposed to go and assault the person. You pick the person up and hand him over to the nearest police station or the nearest military post, and then they will pick it up from there. The interesting thing is that these people live amongst us. They are in our homes. We know that they are not military people, but they are always dressed like that. We should be the first concerned people to report them.
The military police has processed the suspect for referral to the police headquarters for further investigations and possible prosecution. Reporting for Joy News, Nicholas Ekoyamoa.
Hello again, good afternoon to you. Welcome to Business. Now, Ghana would not be part of the initial set of countries that would issue the single currency, the ECO. That's a prediction coming from London-based Economist Intelligence Unit's EIU. George Rafi has been exploring reasons given for this prediction.
According to the Economist Intelligence Unit EIU, they do not see Ghana joining the initial set of countries that want to issue the common currency, the ECO. Analysts are attributing it to some concerns that government might have expressed about the way the region plans going about the introduction of the ECO. The single currency should have been introduced in 2000, but was postponed about 5 times due to differences between the English-speaking countries of the economic grouping, the ECOWAS. The heads of state in the region have now set 2020, that is this year, as a new date for introducing the currency. At the recent meeting between the central bank governors and finance ministers in the region, they failed to agree on a clear roadmap that should be respected by all. Persons close to that meeting had told Joy Business that there are still challenges on a clear-cut convergence criteria that should be adopted by all member countries. There are also issues about whether every member country should be allowed to jointly issue the currency or allow those just with strong economies. There are also concerns about which countries should be settled on to use as reserves to support the ECO. The decision by the French-speaking countries to join the ECO without agreeing to those laid-down procedures for its introduction is another concern that has come up. Based on information available to Joy Business, it is clear that the introduction of the ECO may elude us again. For some businesses that trade along the West African region, it is believed that the ECO might have helped to reduce the risk associated with trading with the dollar and other currencies in the West African region.
And the price of LPG is expected to go up between 6 and 9% per kilogram in the first pricing window of May. This is despite the removal of the cylinder recirculation levy introduced on the price build-up at the beginning of April. Vice President of LPG Marketers Association, Gabriel Kumi, explains the situation is a result of the forces of demand and supply.
There was a big price. The cylinder recovery levy that NGA introduced on the 1st of April was subsequently removed, so there was a decrease in price. But the demand for LPG globally has shut up. You know, most countries are on lockdown, and even though crude oil prices have gone down very significantly, LPG is not following suit because LPG sold to the European countries and the Americas, they use a lot of LPG. I mean, there's about 90% of the most domestic cooking is done by LPG, with LPG. So now that we are in lockdown, you expect people to be at home. You expect people to use a lot of LPG. You expect people to use LPG to cook. And that has shut up the demand, the global demand for the product. Hence, the expected increase in the price of LPG in the next window. This is in sharp contrast to the demand, to the price of diesel and petrol. You know, there is, as I said again, there is lockdown, so there's no movement of vehicles, factories are no working. So
and that's business for now. There'll be more business shortly on the marketplace. My name is Emmanuel Abuaji. We are free. Have a good afternoon.